Hi one and all, this is Dr. Ghanasham Chavan. I welcome you in the session of Human Anatomy and Physiology. This would be sixth lecture on blood. In today's presentation, we will discuss regarding the platelets. They are also called as thrombocytes. They are smallest blood cells, colorless, spherical, oval and rounded granulated bodies. Their size is 2 to 5 micrometer in diameter. Their volume is 5 to 8 micrometer per mm cube. The Leishman's staining shows a faint blue to cytoplasm with distinct reddish purple granules. Means this Leishman stain is utilized to identify our thrombocytes. Nucleus is absent. It contains various receptors meant for combining with specific substance like collagen, fibrinogen, and von Willebrand's factors. Whereas the cytoplasm contains the various cell organelles, for example, Golgi apparatus. Cytoplasm also contains the endoplasmic reticulum, few mitochondria for energy generation, contractile proteins like actin and myosin. These are required for the contraction, helps in the clot retractions. They are very major role to produce the clot and to adhere to the wall of blood vessels. Glycogen, which gives them the energy, glycogen, which is stored form of energy. Lysozymes. The lysozymes are nothing but the enzymes which are required for the digestion of the dead cells. Granules. Dense granules contain non-protein substances ATP. Alpha granules contains clotting factors and PDGF. Counts and variations. If you will see the normal count of platelets, it is 1.5 to 4 lakhs cells per ml. Circulating platelets, they are 60 to 75% of the platelet pool of the body. Remaining are mostly in the spleen, reservoir of the platelets. So spleen contains the remaining amounts of platelets. It is a reservoir of platelets. Lifespan, it is 8 to 12 days is the lifespan for platelets. Destruction mainly occurs in the spleen. Spleen is the major organ for their reservoir as well as destruction of the platelets. Thrombocytosis, so it is a condition when the thrombocytes are more than 4 lakh cells per ml. Causes, there are certain causes for thrombocytosis. After the administration of epinephrine due to splenic contractions, if you will administer the epinephrine means adrenaline to the patient, they will increase the thrombocytes. After trauma, if any head injury occurs or any psychological injury occurs, so it will increase the numbers of platelets. Splenotomy, it is nothing but the removal of spleen. When we are removing the spleen, that condition is called as splenectomy. So that nectomy means removal, and spleen, when you are removing this in the condition like any type of condition like disease or any infectious conditions, when the spleen may have infected, in that condition we have to remove the spleen. So that condition also leads into the increased thrombocytes. Thrombocytopenia, it is a condition when the thrombocytes are decreased in their numbers. There are various causes, for example bone marrow depression. As we know, bone marrow is the major source or major cells where the generation of the various types of cells occurs. So when the bone marrow depression will occur or suppression will occur due to some drugs or due to some conditions, so it will definitely decrease the count of thrombocytes. Hypersplenism, it is a condition when the spleen's shape or spleen size is going to be increased. Hypersplenism, In that condition also the thrombocytes going to be decline. Viral infections, because virus are also going to be affects on your cell count, it will be WBC or these thrombocytes. So viral infection going to be decline your thrombocytes. Drug hypersensitivity reactions, these are also responsible for decrease into our platelet count. Thrombopoiesis or megakaryopoiesis, so it is also one of the process by which the platelets are going to be formed. Site of origin is obviously bone marrow. How they are formed? So they are formed from the pluripotent stem cells. These stem cells are responsible for production of various types of blood cells. It may be erythrocytes, WBC and platelets. So these are responsible for formation of committed stem cells. They are called as polyploid precursor cell. These precursor cells are going to form the megakaryoblast. It is stage 1. It is a immature megakaryoblast, immature cells, which leads into the formation of mature promegakaryocytes. These are the submature cells, and these promegakaryocytes, it is a stage 2 process, and they are able to produce the granular megakaryocytes. It is a stage 3, and lastly these granular megakaryocytes are able to develop the platelets. They are also called as thrombocytes. So the same thing from the stem cells, from the hemocytoblast, they are able to produce the megakaryoblast. From megakaryoblast they will produce the promegakaryocytes. From promegakaryocytes they will develop the megakaryocytes, and from the megakaryocytes they will produce the platelets. So in this fashion the thrombopoiesis or megakaryocytopoiesis occurs. Now functions of platelets. Hemostasis, spontaneous arrest of bleeding by physiological process. Hemostasis mechanism include, what is hemostasis? It is nothing but the arrest of bleeding. When the bleeding stops, that process is called as hemostasis. Don't confuse between the homeostasis and hemostasis. Homeostasis is nothing but the maintenance of internal environment and equilibrium. It is called homeostasis, and here is the word hemostasis, HAEMOSTASS. Hemostasis is nothing but the stopping of bleeding. When the bleeding occurs due to the rupture or due to the injury or damage to your blood vessel, and if that bleeding is going to be stopped, so that process is called as hemostasis. So it is a major functions of platelets. Without platelets the stopping of bleeding doesn't occur. It is very difficult to do that. Platelet adhesion, when the blood vessels are injured, platelet adhere to the exposed collagen present on the endothelial cells in the vessel wall. It is also one of the function, platelet adhesion. First, hemostasis. In hemostasis platelet adhesion occurs, means these platelets are adhering to the wall of the blood vessels. Why? If injury occurs, so they will start to adhere to the wall of blood vessels, and they will try to gather over the collagen fibers, and they are producing the bunch of platelets one above the another and one side the another, and due to which they are producing the wall, and due to which they are try to do the platelet aggregation. Next is platelet activation. Platelet binding to collagen initiates platelet activation. Activated platelets change shape, discharge granules, and cause platelet aggregation. So here what the process they are doing, they are activating platelets, they are changing the shapes, means the shapes which they require for their aggregation, for production of network like structure. So they change the shape, discharge the granules which is inside the platelets, they are discharging that specific granules and causes the platelet aggregations. So in these patients they are doing this process for platelet activation. Platelet binding to the collagen initiates the platelet activations. Now platelet aggregation. It can be done by the various processes. It can be done by increase by platelet activating factor. It is also called as PAF, platelet activating factor, secreted by neutrophils, monocytes and platelet cell membranes. Platelet aggregation activates phospholipase C, which in turn activates phospholipase A2. This causes release of arachidonic acid. The arachidonic acid pathway is there. That pathway is responsible for release of prostaglandin, and it is also responsible for platelet aggregation and from membrane phospholipids, which in turn gets converted to thromboxane A2 and prostacyclin. It is also called as prostaglandin I2. It is called as prostacyclin, which leads into the platelet aggregation. Thromboxane A2 increase in platelet aggregation along with the platelet adhesion and helps in the formation of temporary homeostatic plug, causes stoppage of bleeding. Since thromboxane A2 is mainly responsible for stoppage of bleeding. Prostacyclin, it inhibits the thromboxane A2 formation and thus prevent the further platelet aggregation and keeping platelet plug localized. So these two elements, the thromboxane A2 and prostacyclin, they are having major role in platelet aggregations. And if you will see, the process of platelet plug formation also done by the following three steps. The first is initially platelet contact and stick to the part of damaged blood vessels, such as collagen fibers of connective tissue underlying the damaged endothelial cells, means internal cells of internal wall of the blood vessels. This process is called platelet adhesion. Second stage is due to the adhesion, the this platelet becomes activated and their characteristics change dramatically. They extend many projections that enable them to contact and interact with one another, means they are trying to in touch with one another, they are trying to deposit one side by the another, and they begin to liberate the content of their vesicles. This phase is called as platelet release reactions. Liberated ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and thromboxane A2 play a major role by activating nearby platelets. Means that nearby platelets will activating and they are releasing the ADP. Serotonin and thromboxane A2 function as a vasoconstrictor, causing and sustaining contraction of vascular smooth muscles, which decreases blood flow through the injured vessel. And the third and the last stage is the release of ADP, adenosine diphosphate, make other platelet in the area sticky, means they are making the area very sticky, and the thickness of the newly recruited and activated platelet causes them to adhere to the originally activated platelets, mean they are adhere above the another activated platelets. This gathering of platelet is called platelet aggregation. Eventually, the accumulation and attachment of large numbers of platelets form a mass called platelet plug. So, in this fashion, the platelet aggregation will occur. Now, here in this process, you can understand how this ADP is going to be and thromboxane having great role into the platelet aggregation. Here, the granules are there on platelets. This is the collagen fibers on which the platelets is going to be adhere. So they are also responsible for fibrinogen which to be released, and these fibrinogen receptors, they are binding to these platelets as well. And this is the endothelial cell. It is an internal cells, epithelial cells of these blood vessels, where the receptors are available, and there is a one Willebrand factor which is responsible for adhere of these platelets. Platelet will adhere to the wall of endothelial cells of our blood vessels. This is the smooth muscles, and this is the blood vessels of smooth muscles. So in this special process occurs. So these cells are attached one by the another, means one side to the another side they will adhere, and they will attach one above the another, or one by one they will adhere. If you see the process of hemostasis, which can be occurred by three ways. First is the platelet aggregation, second is vasoconstriction, and third is clotting or blood coagulation. So now we will discuss regarding the vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction also one of the process of hemostasis, means stopping of blood. It occurs in platelet aggregation. Here this is the endothelial cells. This is the basement membrane and arterial smooth muscles. So what happens when the injury occurs to the cell? This is the injury occurs. This is the site of injury. So when the injury occurs, so immediately the reflex vasoconstriction is going to be happen, and this endothelial release causes vasoconstrictions. Endothelin is one of the enzymes which can be released, and it is responsible for reflex vasoconstriction. Here you can see the area is become more narrowed here. Now primary hemostasis. Is primary hemostasis, platelet adhesion occurs. So once in early stage, here you can see the vasoconstriction occurs. So this vasoconstriction leads into the further next process, in which the platelet adhesion occurs. This platelet is going to be adhere to the wall of your blood vessels, to the wall of your endothelial cells, and the shape changes. Accordingly they will change their shape. So from round they will become the square, or they will become the rectangle in shape, and due to which they are attaching one side to the another side of the platelets. So in this fashion they are adhering, and whatever granules they are having, they contains ADP and thromboxane A2, they will start to release immediately, and after release they will immediately start to join one by another and one above the another also, means the lining of this platelet has been produced. Here you can see the lining has been produced, the compact lining has been produced, and they are very tightly they are binding one thromboxane or one platelet by the another, and also they are forming the layer one above the another also, they are attaching one by the another. And the recruitment also occurs here. Recruitment means new thromboxane, new the thrombocytes is going to be adhere above the another, and aggregating homostatic plug formation will occur. This is a plug formation, means when the network structure of your platelet or thromboxane of your thrombocyte will occur, it is called plug formation, or hemostatic plug formation will occur. So in this fashion, also there is a role of collagen in this. So in this fashion the plug formation will occur. This is secondary hemostasis, where the tissue factor is responsible for that, and due to which the phospholipid complex expression occurs, thrombin activation occurs. After activation of thrombin, the fibrin polymerization will be there, and due to which the fibrin, which is the insoluble in structure, insoluble, and it is very strong thread like structure going to be formed from fibrinogen to fibrin. These are clotting factor, so they are producing the fibrin, and this fibrin are joint connecting the platelets one to the another. So in this fashion the tissue factor is also having great role into this secondary hemostasis. Blood coagulation. The loose aggregation of platelet in the temporary hemostatic plug is bound together and converted into definitive hemostatic plug by fibrin. Clot retraction. Within 30 minutes of fibrin clot formation, clot retraction occurs. It contracts down to 40% of its original volume. Phagocytic function. Platelet helps in phagocytosis of carbon particles and viruses. Next function is storage and transport function. Platelet stores histamine, which are released when the platelet disintegrate and act on the blood vessels. Coagulation of blood. This is the third stage of hemostasis, coagulation of blood. One is vasoconstriction, second is platelet aggregation, and third is coagulation of blood. So the coagulation of blood occurs due to the clotting factors as well as the coagulation proteins. Hemostasis. Spontaneous arrest or prevention of bleeding by physiological process is called hemostasis. Major events that occur in hemostasis are constriction of injured blood vessels, means vasoconstriction, formation of a temporary hemostatic plug of platelets, means platelet aggregation or plug formation, and third, conversion of temporary hemostatic plug into the definitive hemostatic clot, means clot formation or clotting or coagulation. So by these three way the hemostasis occurs. Now here you can see one by one. So injury to the vessel wall. Once the injury occurs, tissue injury occurs to the blood vessels, what happens? There is release of 5-HT, 5-hydroxytryptamine. It is an autokine which is going to be released from the platelets that adhere to the blood vessel wall, due to which the constriction of injured blood vessels occurs. This is the first stage of hemostasis, due to which the vasoconstriction occurs and which leads into the formation of temporary hemostatic plug of platelets. Now B, endothelium is disrupted after the injury. So whatever the internal, that epithelial cells of blood vessel is there, the endothelium is going to be disrupted. It is going to be damaged, irradiated, due to which underlying layer of collagen is exposed, and due to which attract platelets and platelet adhesion will occur, means platelet will start to deposit, start to attach to the endothelium of our blood vessels, due to which the ADP release, means the granules from the platelet is going to be released and ADP release will there from the platelets, and due to which the platelet activation will occur and loose platelet aggregation will be there, and it will convert into the formation of temporary hemostatic plug formation. Now after the underlying layers of collagen is exposed via intrinsic system, the activation of these various proteins is going to be occur, and due to which activation of various clotting factors will be there, and the formation of fibrin will be there. From the fibrinogen it will get converted into the fibrin due to the clotting factor 13. The soluble thread is going to convert into the insoluble thread, and due to which the formation of definitive hemostatic plug formation occurs. Now C, stage C, here the release of tissue thromboplastin factor is there. This tissue thromboplastin is responsible for via extrinsic pathway, extrinsic system. So the activation of coagulation will occur. This activation of coagulation which leads into the, again the role of various clotting factors are there, that activation of various clotting factors leads into the formation of fibrin, and lastly the formation of this definitive hemostatic plug formation will occur. So by these various processes the final stage is plug formation or platelet aggregation will occur. Now here this is the list of clotting factors. There are 13 clotting factors are there. These are 13 clotting factors. Out of them the 6th clotting factor is not available to us. It is unstable, it is not available, but these remaining 12 factors are available. Out of them first factor is fibrinogen. This factor is also available into our blood. It is a blood protein. second is prothrombin, third is thromboplastin, and factor number 4 is calcium ion, and factor 5 is labile factor, 7 is proconvertin, 8th factor is antihemophilic factors, 9th factor is Christmas factor, 10th factor is Stewart power factor. Try to recall all the names, don't forget. Factor number 11 is plasma thromboplastin antecedent. Factor number 12 Hagman factor. These factors can be asked in the examination. And factor number 13, which converts fibrinogen into the fibrin fiber, which converts that soluble thread into the insoluble strong firm thread. It is called fibrin. It is called fibrin stabilizing factor, factor number 13. So in this fashion there are 13 protein factors. Out of them 6 is not available and all 12 are available. Now here try to understand this clotting mechanism. We will again discuss the clotting mechanism. So there are 3 processes, 3 pathways are there: intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway and common pathway. First we will start from the intrinsic pathway. The vessel's endothelium ruptures, exposes underlying tissue, for example collagen. So it occurs inside the body, and inside the blood vessels it occurs, and it is a regular process which occurs in our body. Automatically the clotting occurs whenever the internal bleeding occurs from the inside the cell, when it cut, when injury occurs. So due to which the platelet cling and their surfaces provide sites for mobilization of factors. So when the internal injury occurs, the endothelium ruptures from inside the cell. That's why it is called intrinsic, inside the blood vessels. So there is activation of clotting factor 12 to activated form of factor 12. This activated form of clotting factor 12 is responsible for conversion of clotting factor 11 to activated form of factor 11. A means activated form, and this is the clotting factor 11. This is 12 to activated 12. This is 11 to activated form of 11, and this activated form of 11 clotting factor is responsible for activation of factor number 9 from inactive form to active form. And at the same time calcium also is responsible, and also from here the 7th A also responsible for conversion of this factor number 9 to activated form of clotting factor 9. And after that the PF3 released by aggregated platelets, which is responsible for conversion of factor number 8 to 8A, it is activated form, and factor number 9A and 8A complex, they are responsible for next process. Now here extrinsic pathway, tissue cell trauma, tissue cell injury occurs from the external sources, the rupture of blood vessels, rupture of cell occurs, and which is responsible for tissue factor. The typical tissue factor is there, which is responsible for release of calcium ion, and this calcium ion are responsible for conversion of factor 7 to activated form of factor 7. This is the activated form, and this activated form of factor 7 is responsible for tissue factor and factor activated form factor 7, and it is responsible for conversion of factor 10 to activated form of factor 10. This is the common pathway. Up to this the 2 different pathways are there, and from this point this is the common pathway. In common pathway the activation of factor 10 occurs, and this activated factor 10 is responsible for conversion of factor 5 to activated form of factor 5, and for this again there is involvement of calcium ions, and these are prothrombin factors. This prothrombin activator again responsible for conversion of prothrombin to thrombin, means factor 2 to 2A, prothrombin to prothrombin. Now this thrombin, which is active form of factor number 2, along with the calcium ion, is responsible for conversion of factor number 12 to 12A. This 12 to 12A, and these 12, this 13A, which is activated form, it is responsible for this fibrin to this fibrinogen to fibrin. This fibrinogen is the factor number 1, which is responsible for conversion from fibrinogen to fibrin, and this fibrin is going to be developed. But this thread is water soluble and it is unstable. It is water soluble and unstable, but due to this activated form of factor 13, which is responsible for make it strong, make it stable, and make it insoluble, means they are doing unstable to stable and insoluble to soluble to insoluble, water insoluble. And this water insoluble fibrin is very strong, very difficult to break. So this cross link fibrin polymer has been developed, which is very strong, which is stable, and it is insoluble in water. So in this fashion, the strong fibrin has been developed. Try to understand the whole process. It is very easy. If you have any queries, you can ask me afterwards also. Okay, it is very easy. Try to recall all these three pathways: intrinsic, extrinsic, and common pathway. And there is role of various types of factors and their activation. What happens? Only activation occurs here, and one active factor is responsible for activation of next factor, and role of calcium at 2-3 place. Role of calcium ion is there, which is responsible for formation of fibrin, and here the clotting process completes. Now anticoagulant mechanism. Factors that initiate the clotting mechanism also stimulate the dissolution of blood clot, called fibrinolysis. So these are the agents which is responsible for breakdown of fibrin. This fibrin is the clotting, that if you want to dissolve that clot, that drugs are called as fibrinolysis. Fibrinolysis is due to the action of proteolytic enzyme fibrinolysin or plasmin. So this is the serine enzyme which is responsible for breakdown of our fibrin, present in circulation as inactive plasminogen, which gets converted to plasmin by the action of thrombin and tissue plasminogen activator TPA, which is released by tissue damage. Plasmin lies the fibrin and fibrinogen. This plasmin is the serine protease enzyme. This plasmin which lyses, which break down the fibrin and fibrinogen, which production of fibrinogen degradation products. Now fibrinolytic system. In this fibrinolytic system we will discuss plasminogen or profibrinogen, which is present in the blood as inactive precursor of plasmin. Now here the tissue damage which releases this TPA, tissue plasmin activator, and due to which, and again due to the thrombin, the plasmin or fibrinolysis occurs, and due to which the fibrin or fibrinogen get converted into the fibrin degradation products FBD into the small peptides. So in this fashion, this plasmin is responsible for breakdown of this fibrin molecule into the fibrin degraded molecules. So in this fashion, whenever the clot occurs into our blood vessels or it occurs into our brain, so to dissolve that clot, these fibrinolytic drugs are very important, because they are producing blockage into the blood vessels due to that thromboembolia formation or this fibrin formation. That embolia formation is going to be dissolved by these fibrinolytic drugs. So they are very costly because they are life-saving drugs. If any clot will occur, any blockage will occur, so to resolve that blockage, to dissolve that blockage, we are giving these fibrinolytic drugs. Bleeding disorders, there are various bleeding disorders. It is also in our syllabus regarding bleeding disorders. The common causes of bleeding disorders can be classified as defective blood clotting due to the deficiency of clotting factors, factor 1, 2, 5, 8, 9 and 10. So these factors, if they are lacking in our body, they are developing into the bleeding disorders. Deficiency of vitamin K. Vitamin K is the major element for clotting, and due to which also the bleeding means hemorrhage will occur, means continuous bleeding may occur in our blood vessels in our body. And anticoagulant overdose, if you are taking any anticoagulants like aspirin or warfarin, so it will also develop into the bleeding disorder or hemorrhage. And defective capillary contractility or purpura combined defects. So it is a one type of the bleeding disorder, that purpura is one of the problem of capillary contractility. Defective blood clot. In this disorder, a firm clot is not formed following an injury during the period of capillary contraction. Hemophilia. It is caused by the abnormality or deficiency of factor number 8, aka hemophilia A or classic hemophilia. It is an inherited sex-linked, normally due to the abnormal gene on X chromosome, and transmitted by the females to males who manifest signs of disease. Gene responsible for hemophilia is present in the X chromosome, means X chromosomes are the major carrier for this hemophilia. They carries from one person to the another person, and also these females are giving these this sort of conditions to the males. In the presence of another normal X chromosome, these genes act as a recessive genes, means they are carrier genes, they are dominant genes, and they are carrying this information very cautiously from one person to the another person. That is, the individual has no signs of disease but can transmit the disease. So it is very worst thing. Hemophilia A is classified as a mild, moderate or severe depending on the amount of clotting factors in the blood. Mild hemophilia, it is 5 to 40% of normal clotting factors. Moderate hemophilia, it is 1 to 5% of normal clotting factors. And severe hemophilia, it is less than 1% of normal clotting factors. Means if you are having very less clotting factors, it develops into the severe hemophilia, and excessive bleeding or hemorrhage will occur in that condition. Diagnosis. Condition is characterized by a marked increase in clotting time, means we require too much time for clotting. Normally 3 to 8 minutes is sufficient to clot your blood, but you require more than 8 minutes. It requires 10 minutes, 20 minutes for clotting. Bleeding time normal 2 to 5 minutes. It also increases the bleeding time. Normally CT is about, the clotting time is about 3 to 8 minutes, whereas hemophilic blood takes 1 to 12 hours. It's too much, 1 to 12 hours. Normally it's 3 to 8 minutes only, but it takes 1 to 12 hours to clot and may form only a soft clot. It will form a soft clot. Vitamin K deficiency. Vitamin K is required for the synthesis of prothrombin, which is factor number 2, and factor 7, 9 and 10 in the liver. The vitamin K is a major element for the formation of factor number 2, 7, 9 and 10 in liver. Anticoagulants act by substance competition by occupying vitamin K receptor sites. Vitamin K is absorbed from small intestine in the presence of adequate amount of bile salts, means along with the bile salts it can be absorbed into our small intestine. Gastrointestinal disease Deficiency of vitamin K occurs as a result of poor absorptions of fats from the GI tract. If you are having any digestive disease, any metabolic disease, or if you have any problem into the absorption from the GI tract, so definitely we may have deficiency of vitamin K, because we are not able to absorb vitamin K from the small intestine. Another reason for failure of the liver to secrete bile into the GI tract, because the liver will secrete that bile into the GI tract, and lack of bile prevents adequate fat digestion, because for fat digestion our bile is very important, and absorption, which depresses vitamin K absorptions as well. So all these things are consequences of one by the another. If one thing won't happen, another thing won't happen. That's why there is role of bile, there is role of our digestion of our fat, and at the same time the bile also required for the absorption of vitamin K. That's why it is a chain reaction, one above the another. That's why vitamin K absorption is going to be decline. And deficiency is characterized by the prolongation of clotting time, and serious hemorrhage may occur. Defect to capillary contractility. Clinical condition in which capillary abnormality results in bleeding is known as purpura. Try to understand what is purpura. It is a clinical condition in which capillary abnormality result in bleeding. It is a bleeding disorder. It is known as purpura. Characterized by the spontaneous hemorrhage. Hemorrhage will occur beneath the skin, below your skin, mucous membrane, and in the internal organs. Severe purpura with hemorrhage in the skin and from the mucous membrane, this called purpura hemorrhagia. Severe purpura with hemorrhages in the skin and from mucous membrane is called purpura hemorrhagia. Purpura, two types of purpura is there. Primary idiopathic. Idiopathic means it is formed by the automatically, congenital or hereditary, and usually occurs in the children. And secondary symptomatic due to the allergies, infections, drugs, and cancer. So these are the various conditions which are responsible for purpura, means hemorrhage. Diagnosis. Clotting time, normally it is 3 to 8. Bleeding time, it increases, and it also increases the clotting time. Capillary endothelial resistance decreases, causing increased capillary fragility. Skin microscopy. In primary purpura, skin capillary are very irregular and distorted in the form. After puncture, these vessels remains patent. Therefore, pre-bleeding proceed from the needle tract for several minutes. In secondary purpura, capillary are automatically normal, but because of the presence of toxic agents or other causes, they do not contract effectively in response to injury. Platelet count normal is 1.5 to 4 lakhs per ml. In many cases, there are reported to be reduction in platelet count called thrombocytopenic purpura. Forms of or classification of purpura. Thrombocytic purpura. Purpura is low platelet counts, results in poor clot retractions and poor constriction of injured blood vessels. Clinically seen as mild platelet, severe less than 50,000 cells per ml. In moderate, platelets less than 10,000 cells per ml. And in fulminating, means very severe condition, platelet count less than 1000 cells per ml. At thrombocytopenia purpura, purpura with normal platelet count. Thrombocytopenic purpura due to the abnormal circulating platelets, but count is normal. Hemorrhagic telangiectasis entirely due to the localized capillary abnormality, which is not contact with the stimuli. Profuse bleeding will occur following rupture of these vessels. So students, in this fashion we have covered today's topic of bleeding, hemostasis, platelets, and the process of coagulation or clotting. I hope you understood all the topics. If you have any queries, you can ask to me. Okay, thanks a lot for hearing me. See you then. Bye.